Hello, everybody. This is Joy KahNah, and today we are going to talk about 5 practices or exercises that you can use to hone your intuition. And in case this is your first time stopping by, I am a psychic, and I have been doing readings full-time since January of 2015, and it is absolutely a pleasure to be able to do this work. And this week, one of my subscribers just asked me, what are some things that we can do to really hone our intuition, or some exercises? And of course, there are courses that you can take on intuitive development, and those can be really great. But I know that sometimes people who are empaths or who are highly sensitive might not really feel comfortable practicing their intuition in a class setting. I know that that was the case for me. Sometimes if you're amongst strangers or you're with a group of people, it can make you a little bit more anxious. That can make it more difficult to practice your intuition and to get accurate reads. And so what I want to offer you today are some really, really easy things that you can sort of incorporate into your day-to-day or week-to-week basis to be able to practice your intuition, but more importantly than that, to be able to actually just learn how your intuition actually works, because all of us are intuitive, all of us have psychic abilities, and we actually are guided a lot more by our subconscious and our intuition than we actually realize. But a lot of times it kind of flies below the radar, and we don't even realize that we're sort of listening to our gut instincts or going with our first impressions or aligning with our intuition. So I'm hoping that these exercises today can help to demystify to you how your intuition works, and also to help you identify which intuitive gift might be the strongest for you. So the first thing I want to say before we jump right in is just that it is not important to observe your mistakes. When you're learning to use your intuition, focus on your success. The goal is to know what a success feels like. What does it feel like when you get that accurate, intuitive hit? And one thing I want everybody to know is that no psychic, even professional psychics, even the psychics that you see on TV, no psychics are 100% accurate. No psychics that I've ever been aware of are even close to 100% accurate. And one thing that I enjoy doing is I enjoy reading books and memoirs and things like that about government psychics that have worked for the government, that have worked on crime, that have been part of CIA experiments, things like that. And even those psychics that are literally recruited by the government because they are so intuitive, even those psychics are generally anywhere from about 60 to 80% accurate in their reads. So what I want you to know as you practice these skills and abilities is that even if you are right 20% of the time, even if you're right 30% of the time, whatever it is, just celebrate the times that you are accurate and realize that you don't have to be 100% accurate to be psychic or to have great intuition, okay? So especially if you're pulling something out of thin air, like if you just know something, let's say you see a person and you just know something about them, you've never met that person before, think of how statistically significant that is, because the chance that you're going to just pick something out of thin air and it's going to be right is like 1 in a million. And of course, like if you are choosing between something where there's 50-50 odds and you're right 60% of the time, that too is statistically significant. So do give yourself credit as you practice these skills and abilities. Okay, so I'm going to be presenting 5 things that you can do in your day-to-day to hone your intuition, and let's jump into the first one. So number 1 is really, really easy, but a lot of us don't do it, and this is to spend some time each and every day in silence. So actually, our subconscious, our guides, our angels, they are giving us impressions all the time. They're speaking to us all the time. But a lot of times the messages can get lost. And they get lost because we are always listening to something, or we're always consuming something, or we're always reading something. And so basically, our mind and that mental stream and that mental process, stream of consciousness, all the thoughts about the day, all of that is sort of opposite of our intuition. all of that is what competes with our intuition. So for exercise 1, you just want to spend some time each day where you remove all of that. And, there are some psychics, there are some mediums, there are people who advocate meditation. You must meditate. I don't believe that. I don't really meditate. Sure, I'll do maybe 20, 30 seconds of, a profound sort of deep breathing or meditation, theta sort of state before I go into a reading, but I am not spending hours every day meditating, and I don't think that you need to either. What I would recommend is maybe trying to spend 30 minutes to an hour every single day where you are just open to receiving whatever your intuition wants to tell you. And so this means not scrolling through your phone, maybe powering down your phone even, maybe putting your phone away, or otherwise just putting it on a nearby table or something where your phone is not in your hand, you don't have headphones in, you don't have the radio on, you don't have TV on, and you're not talking to anybody, as much as we love people and conversation, like you're not speaking to anybody, you're just there alone with your thoughts. And when I usually like to do this, I'll do this in one or two ways usually each day. One way is I'll do this on a walk. Sometimes I'll choose to walk instead of driving to a nearby store or something like that. And so maybe a good 30-minute walk when you're in nature, that can be a really, really good time to receive your intuitive messages. Or otherwise, I'll usually do this when I am cooking. That can be a really great time as well if you're sort of chopping up vegetables, things like that. Often it's when our body is kind of active and there's no interference with the mind. That's often when we can receive our intuitive hits. So it does maybe help if you're engaged in walking or some sort of exercise and you're being silent, or if you got your hands busy or cooking, stuff like that, but whatever works for you. And it's important to go into these periods of silence with no expectations of what you're going to receive. And also with no expectations that it makes sense to your logical mind, because our intuition will speak to us sometimes in symbols, in colors, in feelings. Your intuitive mind is not going to speak to you often in a linear way. Your intuition is not going to most likely say to you, hey, listen, next Thursday at 2 o'clock, you're going to get a call back from that job interview. That's probably not how it's going to work, but it might give you a feeling of sunshine or a feeling of happiness when your mind wanders into visualizing the next week or the end of the next week, or your intuition, you might be thinking about, I wonder what the end of next week is going to be like, and your intuition might give you a vision of a certificate that you won when you were in second grade, at a science fair, and that might be its way of telling you you're going to win again, success is coming again. But anyway, so the point is just to be silent during that time. Some days you're going to be really tuned in, and you might find that like an answer to a problem or something like that you've been ruminating on. Maybe it comes to you during that silence time. Maybe some days nothing happens, but the point is to practice that silence, to practice listening, because in order to get really good at readings or just really master our intuition, we've got to get comfortable having that space where our mind doesn't need to be engaged, where our mind can just wander. Because it's actually, intuition is really very similar to daydreaming. Of course, it's not exactly the same, but the state that our mind is in, it's really similar to that sort of time when you're about to fall asleep or when you first wake up, when your mind is kind of wandering, and so you want to give your mind some space to wander. So that is thing number 1, is to practice silence every single day. And whatever, if you miss a day, miss a couple days, it doesn't really matter. But the point is to just try to make it a daily practice as often as possible. Number 2, the purpose of exercise 2 is to establish a connection with your subconscious mind. I actually heard in a TED Talk the other day that our subconscious mind controls about 90% of our behavior. And a lot of our subconscious seems to be aware of what's going to happen before our before our conscious mind is. You know, have you ever, for example, just seen your body just sort of jump back? You know, maybe let's say like a bug comes flying at your face or something, and your body jumps back before your conscious mind even has registered the bug. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, like, okay, so that's your subconscious. Like, your subconscious had that awareness that came before your conscious mind. So exercise 2, to establish connection with your subconscious mind. A quick way to do this is to record your dreams. And I've talked about this before, but the best way to do this is to keep either like a notebook or a tape recorder by your bedside at night, and when you wake up in the middle of the night or the morning, whenever it is, before you open your eyes, try to reflect on anything you can remember from your dream. Like, just sometimes you'll remember full visuals. That's usually the case for me. I remember right now even 3 of my dreams just from last night. And this is something that it gets easier the more that you do it. But just try to remember anything, whether it's a color, whether it's a person that was in your dream, whether it is a feeling, maybe you remember the plot of the dream, and maybe some days you're not dreaming. I mean, certainly there are actually sleep conditions whereby people can go a time period without dreaming and things like that. So if that's the case for you, maybe just skip to one of the other exercises. But most of us are dreaming. Most of us are dreaming in our REM sleep. And so, yeah, so just note whatever you can. It doesn't need to make sense. Again, this is coming from your subconscious mind. I don't know about you guys, but a lot of times I dream really, really intense things. I actually dreamed the other night, just last night, that I was being eaten by a tiger. And I dream things like that all the time. Not eaten, but it was like holding me in its mouth. Stuff like that. I dreamed of fires. I dream of floods. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I dream really, really intense things. And the point of it isn't necessarily to analyze your dreams. I think that can really be a labyrinth for us. The point is just to make the connection between your conscious and your subconscious mind. And all that's needed to do that is just to bring the subconscious memory, the activity of the subconscious mind, which is the dream, into your conscious memory. Sometimes if you keep that dream journal, you might find that some of the dreams are prophetic. It may take some time. It may be like that you're flipping through a couple months later and you're like, whoa, during that time I was dreaming, a lot about being lost. And, as it turned out, I really was lost in my life at that time or whatever. So you might find the connections, but even if you don't, it doesn't matter. The point is that you are basically creating like a phone line between your subconscious and your conscious mind, and you can use that in situations where you need to access your intuition. One thing that this really helps with when you start to cultivate this connection is like a really practical thing, is that it can help you to find things that are lost. So that's what I typically use this ability for, this sort of ability to access the subconscious, is like, this is really silly, but yesterday I was looking for some wet wipes, the sort of to sanitize surfaces or things like that. I was looking for some of those. I can't even remember why. I think I was going to clean my phone or something like that. It seemed important at the time. And I thought back consciously to where I usually keep them, which is in my dresser. And I looked there and they weren't there. And I was so frustrated and I was so annoyed. And I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to close my eyes. I'm going to go to that place that I'm in right when I wake up from a dream or right when I sleep. And I'm just going to say, show me where they are. Show me where these wet wipes are, these antibacterial wipes. And yeah, I did that. And I saw them being inside of a zipper pocket, inside of one of my bags. And I thought, no, they're not there. I haven't even used that bag in a long time. But I said, fine, you know what? I'm going to try to honor my subconscious. I went to the bag and they were there. And then I remembered that weeks ago I had gone to the gym and I put them in there to wipe down the machines. And so they were there after all. But it's through like that ability that I cultivated by trying to remember my dreams for a long time that I have established that connection, and now I can use it in the day-to-day. So subconscious is really good for things like that. Memories, bringing back memories from a long time ago. And subconscious can be really good as well for figuring out what's wrong with your body, because your mind's going to analyze it. Your mind's going to go to WebMD or whatever. But if you just ask your subconscious, where in my body is this pain coming from, or what's the origin, things like that, your subconscious will often be able to tell you or give you a clue. Okay? All right, so activity number 3 is to practice your precognition. And this is a fun one. This is really fun. And, oh, by the way, have fun with these. Have fun with these. Don't put any pressure on yourself. I don't know about you guys, but I don't like doing readings when I'm under pressure. I do not like doing readings when I feel like the person is testing me. And I have been tested before, which that's a whole different thing, but I did find in my testing, but it's not enjoyable. And, at different times when I've been tested, once I was tested at near 100%, another time I was tested in a really high stress situation of having to predict sporting events, and at that time I tested about 83% accurate. And I just feel that it was just because I just felt so much under pressure. I felt so tense. And really, like, your intuition, it works best in the opposite of tension. It works best when you're super relaxed, when you're super open, and right. So anyway, so try to have fun with this activity. So precognition is basically when we know something before it happens, when we actually think of something that's going to happen before it happens. And so there is a couple of ways that I really like to practice precognition. One of the things that I like to do is, if I haven't seen a clock in a while, I actually like to not look at clocks very often and be a little bit more in a timeless space. But let's say you haven't looked at a clock for a while, maybe you're walking around or driving around, and it's been a couple of minutes since you've seen a clock. You can try to feel into, like, what the clock is going to say when you look at it. And it doesn't necessarily need to be an exact time. Sometimes I will do that. I usually don't use an alarm at all when I'm sleeping. And so sometimes in the morning when I'm remembering my dreams, I'll ask myself, what is the clock going to say? And it could be anything. Like, I do wake up at different times each morning. And so sometimes I'll do that. That's a little more advanced. But most of the times what I'll just do is just ask myself, is the clock going to show an even or an odd number? Will it show an even or an odd number? And yeah, you could just practice that. See what your mind tells you. Like, you might get the feeling of a 4 or something like that, and that might represent even. And you might not see a 4. The time might not end in 4, but it might end in 2. That's definitely still a success because you're just feeling into even or odd. Another thing that you can do with this precognition is you can, like, let's say that you're going to call, no one likes to do this, but let's say you're going to call customer service or something like that, or just like any 1-800 number, or call for insurance or whatever. You can try to feel into, before you call, who's going to answer the phone. Is it going to be a man or is it going to be a woman? Now, usually you can tell on the phone if someone is a man or woman, but not always. If you can't tell, that's okay. That's okay. Just maybe skip it, try again later. Also, for an elevator, same thing. Like, let's say you're standing in front of an elevator, you can try to feel into, like, when the elevator doors open, if it's not that busy of an elevator, like, is it going to be empty or will there be people inside? And then you can try to feel into, will it be a man or a woman, or try to visualize, like, who's going to be inside. Let's say you have a friend or a coworker, maybe somebody whose desk is near yours at work or something like that. When you're walking into work, when you're driving into work, you can try to, this one's a little bit more advanced, but try to visualize what color shirt are they going to be wearing today? Maybe you'll even be able to tell, like, exactly what shirt that they're going to be wearing, or stuff like that. Those are really good ways to practice precognition. And if you want to track it, you don't have to track it, because remember, the point is to have fun. But if you want to track it, you could just for your own sake, write in a little sticky note or something like that. Like, maybe you think your desk mate, it's Friday, you think that he or she will be wearing a purple shirt. You write purple on the sticky note, put it in your pocket, And yeah, just in case you forget. And then later you can reference it, and then maybe you eventually recruit this person to work with you a little bit more. Maybe you show them that sticky note and you're like, oh my God, I knew you were going to wear your purple shirt today. And yeah, just remember that even if you're only right a little bit of the time or once, the point is to identify what did it feel like that time that you were right. Like, how did the message come to you? How did the feeling come to you? And just then you'll know, because once you've identified, that's what it felt like that time that I was right, then you'll know if you're kind of tuned into the right frequency or channel in the future. So yes, okay, so this next one is one that I really, really like to do, because this is a way to practice clairvoyance, which is my preferred or favorite ability. It's the one that I use the most in readings. And this one I'm calling describing the presenter, or just describing the stranger. So the way this works is that, like, for me, a lot of times I might just let YouTube videos run on repeat. So recommended videos will just play after another video. And a lot of times I'll do this, like maybe if I'm in the shower or I'm cleaning the house, or I am cooking or stuff like that. So random videos will play, like random TED Talks or things like that. I listen to a lot of that. And they'll play, and I won't have looked at or seen who's presenting the content. And you could do this as well, like if the TV's on but you're not directly looking at it. Like maybe flip to a channel that you've never watched or something like that. Listen to the voice, and then try to list everything that, like, try to visualize the person when you're not seeing them, just based on their voice, and list everything that you can about that person. It could be anything that you pick up on for that person. So if you're really clairvoyant, you may pick up on things like the shape of their face, their style, their hair color, their age, their eye color. It's funny, a lot of times when I do this, I will pick up on those qualities about a person, but it may actually be like what that person looked like at a different time in their life. Like it may actually, sometimes it's what they look like right in that moment, but sometimes what I'll see is like what they look like when they are at home on the weekend, but then if they're on the TV, they're all made up and stuff like that. Sometimes that annoys me, but just, full disclosure. But anyway, the point is, to see what you can see about that person. And also, like, maybe you don't see the person. Maybe you don't have an image of what they look like appear in your mind. But if you also, like, you can just scroll through, like, with your eyes closed, regular, just YouTube, and click on a video or something like this with your eyes closed and just try to listen into it and feel into it. But also, like, let's say you don't see the person in your mind's eye, that's fine. But let's say you just anything that you pick up on that person. Like, let's say that you pick up on the fact that, this person is a dog lover. Maybe you just feel like, they've got a dog. Like, they really love dogs. They're cute. They got a cute dog at home, or this person is a mom, or this person is divorced, or just things like that. Especially, maybe you can pick up on their astrological sign. Sometimes that can be the case. Some people are really sensitive to that. Like, you're like, oh yeah, this woman that I'm listening to her voice, this is a Cancer. I can tell by the way that she talks that she's a Cancer, or whatever. So just like write down everything that you're picking up on about the person, even if it's vague, that's okay. Doesn't matter. Just anything that you could pick up on about the person. And then once you feel like you've picked up on everything that you can based on their voice, then that is when you can open your eyes, first of all, and see, okay, is any of this provable based on just what I'm looking at? Because if you picked up, let's say you picked up it on the feeling that this person was between 40 and 50, that'll be obvious just by looking at their face. Like, okay, if the person's 19, then okay, maybe that wasn't quite right, but that's all right. You know what I mean? Other things you may have to Google, but that's why this works really good if you're using the TV or YouTube or things like that, because usually these people have really open social media, so you could do a little bit of of research. And, if you had the feeling, oh, this person's a dog lover, you can probably pop on their Instagram and you can see, if you see a picture of them walking a dog or something, that's your confirmation. Yes, that was correct. And so this is a little bit more advanced, I would say, but also really, really fun. And another way that you can practice this that I'll sometimes do, I love doing this with my husband because he's a teacher of little kids and he has new kids coming in his class, and it's really, really cute. They're actually international students, and anyway, they're preschoolers, and so sometimes he'll say, recently he said, we got a new kid and into the class today, and his name is Aiden, and I said, listen, stop right there. Stop right there. Let me try to tell you everything that I can about Aiden. Let me try to tell you, his personality. Let me guess his hair color. Let me guess, which country that he's from. Let me guess how he acts in class, how tall he is in relation to all the other students and stuff like that. And it's funny. Sometimes my husband is really into this, and then sometimes he'll be like, Maya, come on, you just interrupted me. But, it's just a really good opportunity. When somebody mentions, your friend or family member or something, and they mention someone that you don't know, just be like, stop right there. Just wait, can you pause for a second? I want to see if I can tap into anything about this person. And then your friend or family member can, confirm, maybe you have a feeling, I have a feeling this person you're talking about is really intelligent. I have a feeling this person you're talking about is going through some issues in their marriage, or do you know what I mean? Or whatever, just whatever you pick up on. I usually do pick up on a lot of things about relationships, but whatever you pick up on, just say that. And sometimes let's say you're doing this with a friend or family member who had mentioned someone you don't know, that they know. Sometimes you could say something or pick up on something and they might not know if it's true, but later they'll tell you, you know what, that thing you said about my coworker or whatever, it was true. It actually was true. It was proven true over time. So I call that one describing the presenter, but it can also just be describing the stranger. Just go for somebody who is Googleable. And in this case, sometimes you can even do this. Just depending on how deep you want to go, you could even do this with someone that you have seen a lot, but you've just never Googled. Maybe the news anchor of the morning news, maybe you see her every day, but maybe you've never tuned in. Maybe you don't, your logical mind doesn't really know if she's a mom, or doesn't really know if she played volleyball in high school or whatever. I think that she did, But anyway, so yeah, your logical mind doesn't know, so just write down everything and then do the research and see what you can find. Okay, and then the fifth activity is to practice Clairsentience, and there's 3 ways that you can do this. There's way more than 3 ways that you can do this, but there are 3 ways that I do pretty often that I think that you guys will enjoy. So the first one is something that you can do with anybody that you're pretty close with. I mean, you could do it with a stranger, but it might be kind of awkward. So this would be someone that you text regularly, like a friend or a family member or something like that. And what you want to do is when you have a quiet moment in the day or in the morning, or you want to try to tap into, how is this person feeling today? How is this person feeling today? Is this a good day for them? Is it a productive day for them? Are they a little anxious? Are they nervous? Are they hungry? Are they tired? Just anything that you can try to feel about how that person is doing today. And you don't have to tell them that you're doing this exactly, but you can write down, let's say you're doing this on your phone, in your notepad. I think that my friend Mary today is feeling calm and peaceful and having a relaxing day. You want to go for things that you don't already know, they didn't necessarily tell you, but go for sort of their emotion. She's feeling peaceful today, reflective, calm. And then you want to text the person and be like, how are you feeling today? And a lot of times people will just be like, oh, I'm good, thanks, how are you? But then you can ask them, no, how are you really feeling? I'm curious how you're feeling today. Are you relaxed? Are you anxious about anything? This is why you want to go for someone that you're pretty close with if you're doing this. And yeah, usually people, if you sort of prompt them in that way, usually people will tell you a little bit more about how they're actually feeling, and then you can see, were you right, And of course, people do call emotions by different things, so that person might say, oh, I'm kind of feeling lazy and sleepy, and maybe you wrote quiet and reflective. I would say that's a win. I'd say that's the same thing, just the same thing in different words. But yeah, so that's the first way you could practice clairsentience. One that I like to do with my husband to get a lot, this is what we usually do, like if we're having to wait for some reason, like let's say we have to wait at the DMV or in an airport, doctor's office, or at a restaurant, stuff like that. We will pick out a magazine of some kind, and my husband really likes to pick sporting magazines, which works fine for me, and we'll do this little activity that I'm calling, which do you like best, or who do you like best? So basically how this works is that you sit with somebody, and it doesn't matter who this is. It could be like a child. It could be just anybody that you know that you're out with. So this is so silly. Like sometimes I will laugh so hard doing this that I will cry because it just can be really funny how like accurate people can be. My husband is also very intuitive. He has moon in Pisces just like I do. And so anyway, this is funny. So basically, like, let's say he likes sports rosters because there might be like 12 or 14 pictures on a page, and so he'll flip to a page and he'll be like, okay, Maya, tune into the person that you like best. Maybe he'll say, out of all the guys on this page, who would you want to have lunch with today if you couldn't have lunch with me or whatever? And then I'll keep quiet. Like, I'll figure out who it is. Sometimes, like, it can be hard for me to figure it out. Like, it might be hard to choose between two or something. And then he will tell me who he thinks it is. Like, he'll tell me who I picked, because he's feeling into the energy that I'm connected to, and then he's going to tell me, okay, you picked whoever. I can't think of any names of the people right now, but yeah, so, and then we'll switch, and so then I'll maybe have my own catalog or something like that. Maybe it's like I don't know, like an IKEA catalog or something like that, and then maybe I'll just, like, open to, like, a big spread where there's, like, a whole bunch of lamps or something like that, and ask him, like, okay, I want you to tune into, like, which lamp you would pick. I might make it even more complicated, like, which lamp would you pick if you were buying it as a gift for your friend Sally or whatever, your boss, maybe I'll even pick someone I don't know, and I'll be like, okay, tune into it, and then I give him a minute, and then like, okay, when have you made your choice yet? And then I'll tell him, okay, there it is, it's that floor lamp right there, that's the one that you picked. And this is weird, like, I guess we're both just really clairsentient, but I would say that he is accurate almost 90% of the time. And sometimes it's crazy because, like, I can hardly even pick which person I like the best or whatever. Like, but I will just slightly, like, 1% more like one over the other, and he'll know, and he'll pick that person. It's wild. It is so wild, but it's really fun. A good way to cure boredom. Another one that we do that is also really fun, I don't know, this one might not be as scientific, but it is really fun, okay? So basically what you do is you can do this two ways. What we usually do, again, I don't know how scientific this one is, but what we'll usually do is we'll sit, like, on the floor or something like that, and we'll sit, like, face to face, and we'll get, like, some big, like, cookbook or just, like, something kind of big that you can use to, like, cover all of your face. And then what we'll do is we'll take turns, and we will cover our face, but then we will project an emotion, like, one at a time. We'll cover our face, and then we'll project an emotion as strongly as we can with our face covered, so that the other person can't read your face to know what your emotion is. And then we will guess what emotion the other person is displaying on their face. And again, my husband is so good at this. Like, I don't think that he's ever been wrong, which might be like, this is a good way to practice, like, projecting emotions, and it's also a good way to practice reading emotions. Um, so it's really funny though, because sometimes, like, let's say I decide to project joy or something like that while I'm covering my face. Sometimes I can take it too far, and I might, like, actually burst into laughter or something like that, and then I'm giving it away. But it's just really funny. You also make, like, really extreme facial expressions, so then, like, after the person guesses, you can, like, remove, the covering from your face or whatever, and then they can see your facial expression, and it's really, really silly and really funny. If you want to do that, but you want to do it in a more scientific way, you could sit back to back or something like that and project the emotion. Sometimes it can be helpful to discuss some possible emotions that you might use in advance, like 5 or so, like, okay, so here's the options. Like, it's going to be anger, sadness, boredom, happiness, or surprise, or something like that. You pick from amongst those, or you can just go for whatever you want. It depends on how much fun that you want to have. So those are 5 exercises that you could do, or practices that you can do to hone your intuition, to figure out how your intuition works, to have some fun, and to cure your boredom if you are having boredom. And yeah, guys, just go out there, practice these or others if there are others that you like. Just work them into your day to day, and your intuition will advance, and just think of it as a fun time of discovering how your gifts and abilities work. And yeah, enjoy yourselves, you guys. I hope that this helps. I hope this helps you to hone your intuition. Happy intuiting to all of you. Many, 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 many blessings to everyone who's listening today, and namaste.